BBC One.
With the voices of Sylvester Stallone and Sharon Stone, the big Boxing Day movie premiere, Ants on BBC One in half an hour. After a roundup of the day's sporting action, Final Score with Ray Stubbs.
And good afternoon, Mark Lawrenson's here, and the Christmas and New Year period, always vital as far as the football season is concerned. And from the lunchtime games with Arsenal beating Chelsea, going back to the top of the Premiership table, it was all about whether Newcastle could respond, and they have in emphatic fashion in the Tyne Tees derby against Middlesbrough, and Steve Sutton's there.
Yes, indeed, Ray. Full-time whistle just blown. 3-0 to Newcastle, and this Bobby Robson bandwagon just keeps on rolling. In fact, it's gathering some momentum. His side back on top tonight, as you so rightly say. There's almost a swagger about this Newcastle side at the moment. And in Dyer, Bellamy and Robert, they've got three of the quickest and most dangerous attacking midfielders in the league. These three, particularly the lightning-fast Bellamy, have caused Middlesbrough problems all afternoon. Bellamy almost setting up Shearer in the 12th minute. On 28 minutes, the Newcastle captain wasn't to be denied. His first thundering shot blocked by Mark Crosley, but Shearer quicker than the keeper and Southgate to the loose ball. The second came from a 57th minute corner, Noel Solano's kick, perfectly met by the head of Gary Speed. Middlesbrough weren't without their chances, but Newcastle's third almost inevitable as the latter stages of the second half became a one-way street. Substitute Olivier Bernard put through by Bellamy and thumping it past Crosley. Bobby Robson insists they can't win the league, but I tell you what, they're going to take some stopping.
Can you imagine the quayside on Newcastle this evening? The Newcastle fans, little the Geordies, they'll be top of the table this evening on Boxing Day.
Yeah, fantastic. And they keep saying they can't win it. We all keep saying they can't win it. I tell you, their fans will believe that they can win it. And again, I mean, not only the goals, Ray, clean sheet for them as well today, which has been their Achilles heel. They've had a fantastic week, 10 days.
Now, let's see what's happening as far as Liverpool are concerned today, because having lost to Arsenal and Chelsea, could they bounce back at Villa Park? Let's get the latest from Ivan Gaskell. Looks like they can.
Yes, well, just about a minute or so to go. Villa pressing for an equaliser, but a game that Liverpool started very well and then took a 7th-minute lead in bizarre circumstances. Peter Schmeichel bowling out a throw, but contriving only to hit referee Andy D'Urso squarely between the shoulder blades. It's fell kindly for Jori Litmanen, 25 yards out. He showed great presence of mind to stroke the ball into Schmeichel's unguarded net. That was Liverpool ahead early on. Credit to Villa, though, so poor against Derby at the weekend. They responded well, and by the 19th minute, the impressive Lee Hendry had equalised, turning home after Schmeichel had palmed away Angel's shot. As I speak, there's mayhem in the heart of the Liverpool defence, but Schmeichel causing most of it out of his own box and in the opposition's, but it ends with just a free kick to Liverpool, so they breathe again. Steven Gerrard went sprawling in the Villa box midway through the first half. Litmanen had the chance to put Liverpool back in front from the spot. Instead, he hit a post. Villa manager John Gregory was dismissed from the dugout soon after for his protests over the decision. Villa had other chances to take the lead. They didn't take them, and ironically, after the home side's best spell of the game, it was actually Liverpool who took the lead, which they looked like hanging on to. Berger's pass, Smitzer's finish, 2-1. Anelka is on for his debut. He hasn't had much of a touch yet. Liverpool look like they're going to get that crucial 3 points they need to keep in touch with the leaders tonight.
From lunchtime also to Robbie Fowler hat-trick that gave Leeds a convincing week, bouncing back from the defeat of the weekend at home to Newcastle. Manchester United's goals this afternoon at Everton have been scored by Ryan Giggs and Ruud van Nistelrooy. Looks like it's going to be 4 wins on the run for United now. They lost 3, now they've won 4, well back in contention. At the bottom of the table, Ipswich had a great result on Saturday. They could well climb off the bottom of the table today if they hang on to their lead against Leicester City. And it's Steve Mayer, Portman Road.
Yes, they've hung on and they will climb off
the bottom of the table. Ray, it's just finished here, 2-0 to Ipswich. A happy Christmas from and for the Tractor Boys. 2 wins out of 2, despite George Burley making 3 changes to the side on duty at Spurs at the weekend. Admittedly, 1 enforced through John McGreal's injury, but he dropped both Wright and Magilton to the bench and brought in Peralta and Armstrong, and it certainly worked. It was an atrocious first half, which lived up to a meeting of the bottom 2 sides, but Ipswich then scored twice in the first 10 minutes of the second half. Marcus Bent heading in his first goal for Ipswich from a Royce cross. Then minutes later, Sisto Peralta squeezed a shot in from a tight angle, also his first for the club. It could have been very much a different story had Jamie Scowcroft not put his header so close and at such a reasonable height to Serini just before Ipswich scored. So Leicester then take over bottom spot, and of course history is now against them, because no team bottom of the Premiership by Christmas has survived the drop at the end of the season. Final score here at Portman Road, Ipswich 2, Leicester 0.
Yeah, the Tractors spluttering back into life. Sunderland struggling to score so far this season. They've got 3 this afternoon. Kevin Kilban is added to a third. Niall Quinn got a couple. Blackburn 0, Sunderland 3. Will that Tractor fire back? Will it start making progress?
I think they've had some diesel for Christmas, haven't they? Got it in the tank. Yeah, I think so. And I think the pleasing thing, if you're an Ipswich fan, is not just the fact that they've started to win again the last 2 games. Is they've not compromised the way that they've played. They still try and play football. I think Marcus Stewart's probably a week, 10 days away from coming back as well. Confidence will be up high. I think I've always said all along that I think they'll stave off relegation. I think they've got too many good players, to be honest with you.
It wasn't so easy for Celtic this afternoon. They come back and they've beaten third place Livingston, having a great debut in the Premier League by 3-0. Birmingham is starting to make progress now with Steve Bruce there. Jeff Horsfield on 77 minutes got their winning goal this afternoon. And Port Vale have a victory against Bristol City on this Boxing Day. Now, the big game at midday, well, the big game in London was the derby between Arsenal and Chelsea at Highbury. It went Arsenal's way, a match watched by Steve Wilson.
Chelsea still haven't won at Highbury in the Premiership, but only because Arsenal mustered a second-half recovery which cancelled out Frank Lampard's right-footed drive, which had put Chelsea ahead after half an hour. And they were just about good value for that too, though for a top-of-the-table London derby, the first half was more than a little lacklustre. The second half certainly wasn't. Sol Campbell heading home a Robert Pires corner 4 minutes after the break. That his first goal for the red half of North London. The winner came 20 minutes from time. Giovanni van Bronckhorst, on as a substitute, sent in a free kick which was only half cleared to Sylvain Wiltord. He'd only come off the bench 3 minutes earlier, but sent the ball bounding back into the corner of Chelsea's net.
It's finished Tranmere 2, Stoke City 2 at Prenton Park, and second place Stoke took the lead, but another 2 goals for Jason Price to Tranmere this afternoon. Both teams going well. As far as the Premiership goes this afternoon, obviously Newcastle going well, but Arsenal back up in second place as well, and that's a big victory against Chelsea.
Well, yeah, bear in mind on the back of winning at Liverpool with the 10 men on Sunday, which really wouldn't have been worth anything. They've got no points then. It sounded like it was a good second half performance by Everton and by Arsenal, and a comeback for them, but they're going to be there, Ray. I think everybody knows that. It looks like Campbell and Keown are forming a formidable partnership at the back, and everybody knows about Henry, and they're so strong actually going forward as well.
Bolton, having started the season so well, have slipped into the bottom 6 for the first time. The last home win in August, and by my reckoning, 2 wins in the last 16 games. But it's all about Leeds, who bounced back after their defeat by Newcastle at home on Saturday. Robbie Fowler scored a hat-trick, and this was a match watched by Gerald Sinstead.
Until Robbie Fowler came along, there hadn't been a hat-trick in this fixture for nearly 68 years. Having scored in the second minute and again a quarter hour later, the little Scouser had it all set up. 2 minutes from time, round the goalkeeper, round the central defender, into an empty net for the third. But it could have been 5. He failed with a chance he'd brilliantly created himself, and failed with what David O'Leary rightly described as a terrible penalty kick. Jabil Diawara had brought down Lee Bowyer. O'Leary praised Jonathan Woodgate's first Premiership start of the season, and with reason. Woodgate's partnership with Rio Ferdinand was so solid that Bolton, for all the pressure they created, for all the 10 corners they accumulated, could only seriously test Nigel Martin from long range. Paul Warhurst, Per Franson and Kevin Nolan all tried, but without reward. Sam Allardyce was honest in his appraisal. Rank bad defending in the first 15 minutes, no cutting edge in the box, he said. It will need to change soon.
Now, let's get the details of the latest Manchester United victory at Goodison Park this afternoon. David Hurst there.
Yes, 2-0 to United, and that's 4 wins out of 4 for Sir Alex Ferguson's team. We had to wait until 12 minutes from time to get the first goal. It was well worth it. David Beckham had only been on as a substitute for 10 minutes. He swung over a brilliant ball into the penalty area from wide on the right, and Ryan Giggs rose high to head the ball past Steve Simonson in the Everton goal. 6 minutes later, Giggs raced down the left-hand side, put across a perfect ball across the Everton defence, and Ruud van Nistelrooy was there to make no mistake. His 6th goal in 4 games, his 17th in 21 starts this season. Everton played well enough. Jesper Blomqvist making his first full game appearance since appearing for Manchester United, of course, in the Champions League final in 1999. They had their chances too. Scott Gemmell, Thomas Radzinski and Joe Max Moore all going close. But Walter Smith's team will be the sick to death of United. They haven't beaten them since the FA Cup final in 1995. United have now won 12 of the last 13 meetings between these two teams. And little wonder that the odds on United have now gone from 10-1 to 5-2 on favourites in the last few weeks.
It always happens, doesn't it? Bottom of the table, Cambridge in Division 2 have beaten the leaders Brentford by 2-1. Daniel Chillingworth with the winning goal on 85 minutes. He'll be enjoying Christmas so far. Now, it's not been a happy Christmas period for Tottenham Hotspur. Beaten today at Southampton. This was a match watched by Tony Gubber.
Glenn Hoddle claimed afterwards that Tottenham had been superior to his old club, and for 45 minutes they were. Playing with 3 towering central defenders and Sheringham and Anderton probing intelligently, a Spurs goal always seemed more likely. But Sheringham dithered with one chance, Ferdinand shot high and wide and then headed over. And the points were settled by arguably the game's rawest player. James Beattie, who leads the Southampton attack, is as upright and sturdy as a young oak, as goalkeeper Neil Sullivan discovered when Beattie outjumped him for a ball punted forward to head the game's only goal. Spurs pressed recklessly for an equaliser, but Paul Jones produced some magnificent saves. Southampton's resentment at the club who poached their manager and central defender was most evident when the now Saints boss Gordon Strachan and Spurs number 2 John Gorman ranted and raved at each other from their respective coaching zones, like 2 bantam cocks about to do battle. Strachan diffused it afterwards as a tiff between midgets and instead praised Beattie for his bravery. Glenn Hoddle blamed 2 consecutive defeats on a lack of depth in his squad.
Yeah. Tony Gunn was in the Christmas spirit. Mind you, Southampton fans have been warming up for that one since the start of the season, haven't they?
I'm not sure you described John Gorman as a midget, certainly. Yes, they have, and I think they added a bit of fuel to the fire as well this week about all 3 coming back, John Gorman included, and Dean Richard and Glenn Hoddle. But it's a very, very good win for Southampton, bearing in mind, you know, Saturday 6-1 at Manchester United. So to come back straight away and with 3 points at home as well will justify Gordon Strachan's for him tonight.
No better news for Derby County fans, but a convincing win at Upton Park for West Ham this afternoon. Jonathan Ledgell was there.
West Ham's best result under Glenn Roeder owed as much to referee Graham Pole as Derby's dismal defending. Mr Pole chose to dispatch Derby's on-loan Italian, Benito Carboni, for a second bookable offence early in the second half, just when Derby were looking to come back from Sebastian Schemmel's first goal for West Ham after only 4 minutes. The 10 men then caved in, overrun in a final 16-minute flourish, courtesy of goals from the inspirational Di Canio, the flying Trevor Sinclair and substitute Jermaine Defoe. Liverpool and Leeds are next up for the Hammers, but having won at Old Trafford and drawn against Arsenal, West Ham are bubbling prettily. Derby, meanwhile, are leaking ominously. 1 point out of a possible 27 away from home confirms why they're facing a far from prosperous 2002.
Quite a few derbies around today. Let's go to Craven Cottage. Fulham against Charlton. This was a match watched by Suthill.
Honours ended even in this London derby in a scrappy match which neither side will recall with too much fondness. The early start didn't seem to agree with anyone as mistakes and misplaced passes littered a first half, high on energy but low on finesse. Jason Newell hit a post for Charlton and Louis Saha miskicked from a similar position as he searched for a first goal since mid-November. For all their flair and fancy footwork, Fulham were often eclipsed by a Charlton side who harried and chased all afternoon. Edwin van der Sar made a terrific double save from Klaus Jensen and Kevin Lisby in a second half which the visitors just edged. That said, Dean Kiley made good stops from Burr Morty and Saha, but Alan Kirbysh's side could have nicked all 3 points had Lisby been on target with a volley. They went home with 1, but it was fully deserved. Fulham 0, Charlton 0.
That's an important result for Walsall this afternoon, beating Crewe by 2-1. Ziga Analde and Frederick Biancalani got their goals in a 2-1 win this afternoon. Right, let's find. I've got a little statistic here about Blackburn Rovers, because they ended a run of 3 defeats at the weekend, but they last lost a game on Boxing Day in 1990. So they're at home at Ewood Park today against Sunderland. Guess what happened? Nigel Adderley will tell us all about it.
The foundations laid by Sunderland during an utterly dominant first half. The team that couldn't score away in the Premiership netted twice and should have had more. Niall Quinn got them both, poking in Rayner's cross shot and heading home Arca's free kick. They also hit the woodwork twice and made Blackburn look very poor indeed. When Kevin Phillips also hit the post in the opening minute after the break, it looked like more of the same. But Blackburn did improve until Craig Short was sent off for striking Kevin Kyle 20 minutes from time. And Sunderland also had the last word as Kilban tapped in Phillips' cross. It's Blackburn's first Boxing Day defeat since 1990 and Sunderland's first back-to-back wins in the Premiership this season.
And all the results are in on this Boxing Day. Here's a check on all the final scores read by Chris Hollins.
The FA Barclaycard Premiership. Arsenal 2, Chelsea 1. Aston Villa 1, Liverpool 2. Blackburn Rovers 0, Sunderland 3. Bolton Wanderers 0, Leeds United 3. Everton 0, Manchester United 2. Fulham 0, Charlton Athletic 0. Ipswich Town 2, Leicester City 0. Newcastle United 3, Middlesbrough 0. Southampton 1, Tottenham Hotspur 0. West Ham United 4, Derby County 0. The Nationwide League Division 1. Bradford City 1, Sheffield United 2, Gillingham 2, Portsmouth 0, Grimsby Town 0, Coventry City 1, Manchester City 0, West Bromwich Albion 0, Millwall 3, Crystal Palace 0. Nottingham Forest 2, Norwich City 0. Rotherham United against Burnley was postponed. Sheffield Wednesday 0, Birmingham City 1. Stockport County 1, Barnsley 3. Walsall 2, Crewe Alexandra 1. The game between Wimbledon and Watford was postponed. Wolverhampton Wanderers against Preston North End is an evening kickoff. League Division 2. Blackpool 0, Oldham Athletic 2. Cambridge United 2, Brentford 1. Cardiff City 2, Reading 2. The game between Chesterfield and Wycombe Wanderers was postponed. Huddersfield Town 3, Peterborough United 1. Northampton Town 2, Colchester United 3. Port Vale 1, Bristol City 0. Queen's Park Rangers 0, Brighton and Hove Albion 0. Swindon Town 0, Bournemouth 0. Tranmere Rovers 2, Stoke City 2. Wigan Athletic 1, Bury 1. Wrexham 2, Notts County 1. League Division 3. Bristol Rovers 5, Leyton Orient 3. Carlisle United against Darlington, match postponed. Cheltenham Town 1, Shrewsbury Town 0. Exeter City 0, Swansea City 3. The game between Hartlepool United and Scunthorpe United, match postponed. Kidderminster Harriers 4, Rochdale 1. The game between Lincoln City and Mansfield Town, match postponed. Macclesfield Town 1, Halifax Town 1. Oxford United 1, Luton Town 2. Plymouth Argyle 2, Torquay United 2. Southend United 4, Rushden and Diamonds 2. And the match between York City and Hull City was postponed. Now, Nationwide Conference, Barnet 0, Stevenage Borough 3. Doncaster Rovers 4, Scarborough 3. Forest Green 1, Yeovil Town 1. Hayes 2, Dagenham and Redbridge 4. Lee against Stalybridge Celtic, match postponed. Margate 0, Dover Athletic 1. Northwich Victoria 3, Chester City 1. Nuneaton Borough 1, Boston United 1, Southport 1, Morecambe 1, Telford United 0, Hereford United 1, Woking 3, Farnborough Town 2. Now the Bank of Scotland Scottish Premier League. The match between Aberdeen and Dundee, match postponed. Celtic 3, Livingston 2. Dundee United 0, Hearts 2. The game between Hibernian and Rangers is an evening kick-off. Kilmarnock 0, Dunfermline Athletic 0. Motherwell 1, St Johnstone 2. And the Bell Scottish Football League Division 1, Partick Thistle 2, Ayr United 1. The match between Wraith Rovers and Falkirk was postponed. And in Division 2, Stainhouse Muir and Forfar Athletic match was also postponed.
Let's see how the tables look on this Boxing Day. No stopping Newcastle at the moment in the Barclaycard Premiership. A 5th straight win, this time in the Teesside derby against Middlesbrough. Keeps Bobby Robson's side 3 points clear. They displace Arsenal, who'd gone on top on goal difference earlier in the day following their win over Chelsea. Liverpool got back to winning ways today at Villa Park. Their first win in 4 keeps them 3 points off the top. They do have a game in hand. Leeds stay in the title hunt, courtesy of Robbie Fowler's hat-trick heroics at Bolton. And Manchester United complete a 100% record for the top 5 today. Having been written off of the Championship 2 weeks ago, they've now won their last 4 games. Chelsea's first away loss for 2 months mean they stay 6, while Tottenham and Villa also went home pointless today. Let's get reaction now to the game at Villa Park, where Liverpool have won. Ivan Gaskell is there, and he's joined by former Anfield striker John Aldridge.
Yes, John Aldridge with me. He's seen Liverpool get back, as you said, to winning ways. An important win, but John Aldridge, I guess they're all important, aren't they?
Yeah, I think today was a big pressure game for Liverpool on the back of 3 poor results for their standards, and they handled it terrifically, and I thought they dictated the play for most of the 90 minutes. I had 1 or 2 scary moments, but totally deserved the win.
They actually started very well. They came out the blocks very quickly. Bizarre opening goal, though. Schmeichel throws out, hits the referee, bounces to Littmanen, and he was very calm in that situation.
Yeah, he did. He still had a lot to do. He was about 40 yards out or so. But as you said, it was absolutely crazy. We don't see normal, Peter Schmeichel making mistakes like that. And it came off the referee's backside, I think. And Littmanen kept us cool. Good finish.
Hendry levelled for Villa, and to be fair to them, they responded very well, I thought. They had chances, actually, to take the lead. They hit a post.
Yeah, well, the crowd lifted once they got the goal, and for 10 minutes or so, it didn't pick Liverpool back. But once the second half started, Liverpool got on the stride again, controlled the game magnificently well, and, with the exception of when Paul Mason nearly scored, there was never a doubt for me that Liverpool were going to win the game.
John Gregory dismissed from the dugout, but as the game wore on, Liverpool it improved again. Anelka came on, and finally, your thoughts as we turn to the new year. He's now in the Liverpool forward line. What difference will he make, and do we now see a concerted challenge?
Liverpool's relied an awful lot on Michael Owen's goals this season, and not too many have chipped in other than maybe Littmanen, who scored 4 now. They need a goal scorer who's going to score as well as Michael, or if anything happened to him. Please God, that doesn't happen. And certainly in and around that box, Anelka does come to life. It might take him time to adapt and acclimatise to the first division again, the Premier League, sorry. And once he does that, I think we've got a good player.
John, thanks for joining us tonight. Merry Christmas.
And you, all the best onto the views.
And I'm sure Liverpool will go home happy tonight.
Well done, Ivan. Let's have a look at the bottom of the table this evening. Leicester City are top of the table for the 3rd time this season. They swapped places with Ipswich following defeat at Portman Road. Ipswich's first home win in the Premiership since the opening week of the season. Derby remained deep in trouble. 4-0 hammering at West Ham means Colin Todd's side have collected only 1 point from 10 away matches this season. It's all good news for Southampton. They did themselves a favour today with victory over Tottenham, their 3rd in 4 games. Middlesbrough stays 16th following defeat at St James's Park. Bolton slide into the bottom 6 for the first time. 6 games without a win for Sam Allardyce's side, who led the table until late September, don't forget. And Boxing Day 2, let's take a look at Nationwide League Division 1. Leaders Burnley weren't in action today. Their game at Rotherham was called off because of the frozen pitch. That's enabled Manchester City to trim Burnley's lead to 4 points. City move up to 2nd after drawing 0-0 with West Brom, who stay in 5th place. Wolves will move back above Manchester City if they avoid defeat against Preston at Molineux this evening. Kick-off in a few minutes' time at 5:15. Norwich stay 4th despite suffering a 2-0 defeat at Nottingham Forest. Coventry remain very much in the promotion hunt. First half half. Lee Hughes' goal gave them all 3 points at Grimsby. And Millwall's fine season continues. They beat Crystal Palace 3-0 at the New Den. At the bottom, Stockport's position looks even more desperate tonight. Carlton Palmer side suffering defeat number 18 at home to Barnsley. Grimsby remain in the bottom two after losing to Coventry, and Sheffield Wednesday find themselves in the relegation zone after losing at home to Birmingham. Walsall and Barnsley both recorded valuable wins. In Division 2, the match between top against bottom didn't go to form. Brentford lost to a late Cambridge winner but stayed top by the narrowest of margins. Indeed, goal difference separates the top three following draws for Stoke and Brighton and defeat for Bristol City. In fact, none of the top seven managed a win. Reading drew with Cardiff and Wycombe's game was abandoned. And no change in the bottom three. Cambridge defeat keeps them marooned. Northampton dropped to the foot of the table. They were beaten at home by Colchester, while Cambridge's unlikely win moved them up a place. A rare win also for Wrexham at the expense of Notts County. Bottom six completed by Chesterfield and Bury. Division 3 now. Leaders Plymouth had their lead trimmed to 3 points. Plymouth had to settle for a 2-2 draw against Torquay in the Devon derby. Second place Luton came from behind to beat Oxford. There was a little moment among the chasing pack. Hull and Mansfield both had their games postponed, while Rochdale stay in fifth after losing at Jan Molby's Kidderminster. Scunthorpe's match at Hartlepool also fell foul of the cold weather today. At the bottom, Halifax picked up a useful point at Macclesfield, but it's not enough to lift them off the bottom. They stay just below Carlisle on goal difference. Carlisle, like York just above them, had their match postponed today. Torquay secured a fine draw at leaders Plymouth with a last-minute penalty from Richard Logan, but they still slip a place to 21st. Bristol Rovers picked up a morale-boosting win following manager Jerry Francis' decision to leave the club for personal reasons, and Nathan Ellington hat-trick gave them a 5-3 win over Leyton Orient. Let's look at the conference tonight, proving a great season for Dagenham and Redbridge. They can look forward to their FA Cup third round tie against Ipswich, and tonight they sit proudly on top of the conference after putting 4 past Hayes. Boston dropped to second after being held to a draw at Nuneaton. And in the Scottish Premier League, Celtic have stretched their lead to 13 points after beating third place Livingston at Celtic Park. Rangers can close the gap back to 10 points if they win at Hibs this evening. At the other end, St Johnstone picked up only their third win of the season at Motherwell, but are still 5 points adrift. Well, we're heading into the new year, and once we get into the new year, the first weekend, we'll see a very important production, a production that everyone will be talking about.
Off to see your fancy woman again?
It's just business.
Business must be good. It's the third time this week.
I'm only doing this to get us back on our feet.
And Mel, she's staying on her feet, is she?
Laura, this is a chance to make some real money. Try and get back what we lost. And what do? You make snide comments. I'm sorry, Laura, but I have had enough. Excuse me, I forgot my gherkin. Nagging.
Cut! Once again, please.
Sorry.
At least there's one drama he is good at. Live on BBC One and Radio 5 Live, the FA Cup. Great drama from the BBC.
And here's what's lined up for the FA Cup third round. Highlights in Match of the Day on Saturday, January the 5th. Then 2 live games on Sunday. First off, Macclesfield Town against West Ham United, Sunday lunchtime. And then on Sunday evening, Aston Villa against Manchester United, Sunday, January the 6th, 6:45. Now, moving to later on in the middle of January, the African Cup of Nations from Mali will have comprehensive coverage throughout the tournament. The 2002 finals, and our coverage begins on the 19th of January 2002. So, Boxing Day, that's the halfway mark in the Premiership, and Newcastle fans, they wouldn't have expected to be top come the start of the season, would they?
No, they wouldn't. Even the most ardent of them wouldn't expect. But I think the interesting thing as well today, Ray, the wins for Arsenal, Liverpool, Leeds and Manchester United, and while maybe it wasn't vintage performances from some of those teams, they keep winning, and that's the key. They've said all along about winning the Premiership. It's not about beating the teams who are down at the bottom 3-4 and 5-0. It's about not playing particularly well away from home and coming away with all 3 points.
Manchester United, Arsenal and Liverpool are going to be there or thereabouts, and it's impossible to pick a winner now, surely.
I think it is impossible to pick a winner, to be honest with you, because all the teams, as we know, week in, week out, are beating each other. You can say Arsenal, Liverpool, Leeds, Manchester United, one of those 4 is going to win it. Sorry, Newcastle, I don't think you are going to win it, and you've been fantastic at the moment. But I think it's a big 4. They've got the biggest squads, and I think generally they've got the best pool of players.
Thanks, Mark. Coming up, plenty of programmes in the next week or so. We've got Focus on Saturday, final score on the 29th and January the 1st. That's it. Time for us to go. Goodbye.
When the people's hero fights,
Put down your weapons!
He fights for justice.
Never attack in anger.
And for love.
Do you surrender? Zorro was here. Do you recognize him?
The network premiere of The Mask of Zorro, starring Anthony Hopkins, Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones. Tomorrow at 8 on BBC One.
Now, every ant has his day as an all-star cast provide the voices for the big Boxing Day movie premiere. Ants on BBC